Hi guys, and welcome back to Wade's Workshop. Well, as I said at the end of the last one, let's get a vise mounted and take some first cuts. So, first project. Broken my new vise out of its packet. It was all sorts of travel oil and goodness knows what in there. Annoyingly, it's a 3/16 Allen key. I won't say annoyingly, I've got, metric and imperial sets of Allen keys, but it's a 3/16 Allen key for the little clamp bolt. The design of this vise is such that there's a pin which runs through whichever hole you put it in, and that gives you basically, a certain amount of adjustment. In fact, the screw's quite far in at the moment, but certain amount of adjustment for clamping up. And you move the pin into whichever hole, whichever position you need the moving jaw in at the time. Now, I did, when I bought the vise, realise that it was just the perfect length for the bed of the machine. It was, it's exactly the right width, and that if this back edge was set somewhere flush to the back edge there, that I can bring the table well out and be, out here somewhere, so that a milling operation, say for instance on a part that big, if I was in the centre, my table's in a good position for working. I mean, I can, you could set the vise anywhere along this plane. Problem I have is to clamp it down. My other vise, and this vise, has the slots in both ends, so clamping it down in this orientation would be quite easy with a pair of, literally just a pair of clamps and blocks. But conventionally you want it clamped down this way. So I want to make some hold downs for it. Now of course it's a milling operation and I need to have the vise bolted down to machine its own hold down, so to speak. It would be a lot easier for me to use the other vise that I've got that has the grooves in the sides to machine the hold downs or the hold down parts that I'm going to make. I've got a design in my head. I'll share that with you shortly. But I'll use the other vise, which I can clamp down quite easily, although I do have to make some short studs for it, but I'll show you those. Right, so the project is going to be, first project is to make some hold downs. So here's the rough plan. I've got a pair of clamps on the back. They will sit on top of the vise. I'll put a little, I haven't tightened anything up. I'll put a little bit of shim under them so they don't, there's something soft underneath the jaw, a little square of aluminium, something like that. These little clamps do fit in the slot. I've only got 2 of those in my set. These are the next size up and they don't fit in the slot, hence why I've had to go on top. And again, these are all the shortest studs, and obviously these studs are way too long and they're going to get in the way of the action area, so to speak. So I'm going to have a play with these, perhaps cut myself. I have got a piece of 10mm stud, so yeah, I can cut some studs to length, so I'll probably jump on the lathe and cut myself a couple of studs. I think going forward, as I will be using this vise, I need to make myself some little toe clamps for this vise and then get this vise sorted out and then move on to the project with the other vise. I did mention with the other vise, now that I've got it, tried it on there, I'm going to make the clamp system for it, but with a view to getting another one of these, another vise exactly the same as this one from the same supplier, with a view to be able to have 2 vices on there at once. You could use them for different setups or what have you if you're doing multiple parts, so you could put one vise with a setting, move to another vise, or use them in tandem as a pair of vices for double the grip on a longer part, that sort of idea. So yeah, I mean, I am planning on getting another one of these, but I want to see how this one turns out before I invest in another one. Right, that said, cut some studding and we'll go from there. Isn't it marvellous? I'm trying to set my milling machine up, and the first machine I've got to jump on is the lathe. Okay, so 4 little pieces of stud. I know the length is 45mm. I've got a turning tool, champering tool, and a parting tool, all ready to roll. So, yeah. I'll just face the end of this 12mm studding. I've got the 3-jaw chuck up, it's fine for this job. And just touch off. Probably running a bit slow there. About 900. Let's replace them. Chamfer on the end. I think what I'll do is just flick it round 180 degrees in the chuck, do the same to the other end, then I'll part those two off and go from there. I only actually need 2 for this job, but I think what I'll do is make up 4 of them, because I think they're probably going to be the studs that I use for the clamps going forwards. So, and you never know when you're going to want some nice short little studs for clamping stuff down. Obviously the clamping kit with its long studs is great, and going forward I can see I'm going to have to use them a fair bit, but do need a new tip in the chamfering tool, or turn the tip. Okay, so that's 2 of them. Parting tools up. Right, 45mm long. I got the rule to hand. 45, if I stick them out 50, approximately 50 should be enough for the job. Oh, yeah, it's a 2-second job this, I mean, no problem. Right, 45 there, lock the carriage, part it off. Alright, how far did I have that sticking out? 55 I got it sticking out, that's 45. Yeah, it should be alright. I'll do the next one a bit closer into the chuck. Okay. Just prep this end again, ready for the next one. Oh, I've forgotten I've done the other end of the shaft, haven't I? Never mind. Okay, so we'll have it stuck out 50. I'll be parting a bit closer to the chuck. This time I was stuck out a bit, probably about 5mm further than I needed to be. So again, it's not critical to length, so I'm just testing it with a rule. .45, lock the carriage, part it off. Okay, that's 2. I don't think I got enough to make another 2. No, I haven't. So, yeah, okay. I can make 3. I have got some more 12mm studding somewhere. I'll dig it out and make up a last one. So, 45 there. Lock carriage. Part it off. Okay, all that remains now is to dig the 3 of those out of my tray. There's 1, 2, 3 of those. Discard that bit temporarily. Back in the chuck with all 3. Finish with the parting tool now. clean that face up. The beauty of the quick change tool post, eh? Jumper on there. A lot of people sort of criticise the way I do things a little bit, in that I don't always stop the chuck. You know, I change the tool layout, the chuck running. I do come well out of the way, and of course I've been working for many years on lathes, more than I care to remember. Yeah, so best practice would be to stop the chuck, then to change the tool, come back in, check no fouling, turn chuck back on, and then machine it. Yeah, and as you can see, the way I've been doing it, this sort of idea, yeah, I could have pushed the stop button. I've got to anyway, as it happens. Push the stop button first, but yeah, so if you're new on a lathe, do the safer method. Stop the chuck, change your tooling. Less chance of you having an accident. So yeah, stop chuck, change the tool, come back in. Yeah, safer method altogether. I do it my way because I know what I'm doing, and I don't have accidents on the lathe. Not saying I've never hurt myself on a lathe, because you do enough work and you're gonna you're gonna scratch yourself on something at some stage, but minimize the risk, stop the chuck, and obviously never leave the chuck key in the chuck like that. That's another major no-no. When I was an apprentice, it was an apprentice shop with 10 or 12 apprentices in it, and if you were ever caught leaving a chuck key in the chuck like that while you were, walk away from the lathe, what have you, or even between operations, they basically had a chuck key on a piece of chain, and you'd have to wear it hanging round your neck for the whole day, and everyone would know what a wally you've been. So yeah, you soon stop that very early on. Anyway, there we are. So that's just a little bit on chuck keys and the Elfin Safety Police. And there's my 3 studs. I'm gonna grab another bit of steel off camera and make another, and back to the mill. So yeah, the studs are in place. I've got the 2 clamps on this side. They're not even tightened up. A little piece of aluminium under there. Quick set for the vise. Yeah, square on the edge of the table. That'll get you in the ballpark, and then I can get my clamps in position before I clock the vise up. That one on there. Oh. T-slots on the table. It had all that travel wax stuff in them, and I've cleaned them out sort of best I can for now. There's that clamp. There's that running. That's running downhill. Up a bit more. Little tip for clamps. When you're setting the rear end on these clamp sets or wherever, whatever you're using, you really speaking want to have the clamp parallel, or maybe a step up at the back, so the rear of the clamp is higher than the point you're clamping. And obviously distance wise, you want the bolt closer to the clamping area than the rear support, and that gives you better downwards force. So yeah, flat or slightly high at the back end, and the bolt closer towards the front, closer to the clamping area than the back. Otherwise, most of your clamping force will be on the riser block instead of on the part that you actually want to stop moving. So yeah, that's just a little tip. Yeah, so I just sort of bring myself off to one side and just have a quick look. Yeah, these rear ones are about parallel, and these ones slightly raised. So I've just squared it up with the square to look square with a square, but that doesn't mean a great deal. Now I need to put a parallel against that back jaw, and in fact I just need to run a stone across that back jaw. It's a little bit grubby. I'll put a parallel in and we'll clock it up. So we'll show clocking the vise up next. So firstly, apologies. Look at the state of this magnetic clock stand. It needs a sort out. It's been sat around. I never use it. The clock itself is fine. It's in good order. Could do with a new tip in the end. But yeah, I mean, it's done a lot of work in its time, but I haven't used it in I don't recall the last time I used it. Probably on the milling slide somewhere, maybe a year ago or what have you. So yeah, I mean, it's been sat here in the shed, unloved. I think it needs stripping to bits, cleaning up, re-blackening. We'll do that. We'll do that. Right, so I've stoned the back face. I'll just drop one of my nice shiny new parallels in the vise. It's sat not on the bed of the vise. It's sat on top of these nuts. Yeah, I mean, the clamp, the nut and what have you are too high for this vise. Hence why I'm going to make some proper clamps. That's for this vise, first of all, and then we'll move on to making clamps for the other vise. Right. So the first project is actually going to be making hold-down clamps for this vise as opposed to the one I'm going to be using. But this vise will be used regularly as well, I'm sure. Okay, right. So, yeah. Oh, hopefully I can get back far enough. Right, if I just wind my table back till I get a 0, there we are. I should be pretty close because I put a square on the vise first, and I've just hand tightened the 4 nuts. So, oh, right, well that's interesting. I've got waving in my table. If I rock the table back and forth, yeah, I've got, this is actually a thou clock, and it's half a thou per line. So I've got about a thou there of wobble. Right, let's go to the other end. So over 150 mil, I'm about half a thou, or am I? Because I can do that. Right, I think I need to tighten up that gib a little bit before I go any further. Which gib it is, I don't know. Let me just have a... see if I can see anything moving. Doesn't seem to be the saddle. I would imagine it's the table. So let me get a screwdriver out. And maybe able to get a little bit more on the gib in the table here. Let me just try. Okay, I've just given 1/8 of a turn. Let's see. I've still got that wobble a little bit. There's a bit more. Now we're getting somewhere. I think I can do a tiny bit more, but I want to just check the feel of the table. There's a little bit more on the gib. Well, it's a vast improvement. So that's, well, basically that's 0 that end. Yeah, I've got too much wobble in this table to start with. Let's go a little bit more. I'm not feeling resistance in the hand wheel, so that's can't find the slot now. There it is. Now that went pretty solid then. I've still got it. I seem to have more in this direction. Yeah, probably about a thou. It's certainly all round the 0 mark there. I'm going to just try a little bit more, see if I can get rid of that wobble. Again, it's all part of the setting up. Oh. Let me just lock the saddle and just see if it was in the saddle. So I've locked the saddle. That should take out any play in the gib. Yeah, it's still there. It is in the table. Okay, well, yeah, I can pretty much say that vise is running true. Just need to get my spanner now. It's only nipped, as I said, so I'll just make sure that nothing moves when I'm tightening the nuts. It's probably overkill putting 4 clamps on this vise. It probably could have got away with 2 in the centre, but well, you know, if you've got it, use it, innit? Is that a phrase? I don't know. I think so. So I got all 4 clamps tight now. Yeah, I played about with the gibs and you know, things like that to try and reduce as much wobble as I can. As you can see, it's wandering probably 1 line, 1.5 lines on the clock. So yeah, it's probably half a thou, something like that. And there's the other end, and it's 0 again. So yeah, I think we'll call that happy. I think as time goes on, I'm going to play a bit more with the gibs. I don't want to over tighten them at this point. I'm just, you know, toying with it at the moment. I could probably get rid of most of that, but if it's wandering half a thou, you know, with the load I'm putting on by winding the handle, especially with the table right out here, I'm not too worried. Probably fine. I don't know. If I wind from the other end, I don't know. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I'm having less influence on it from this end because the table's much closer, and I haven't got the leverage with the handle. Feels weird winding from that end. Yeah, okay, so I'm happy. So I found a piece of steel in one of my drawers. It's a piece of EN8 and it's 25mm square. A little bit oversized for what I want, but that's okay. Just, whoop, just going round it, taking the burrs off the ends. I did have a long bar. I just cut it off with a chop saw. Cut it off with a cut-off wheel, 100mm long. Well, it's about 105. I want 2 clamps, 50mm long. So yeah, that should be enough steel for what I'm looking for. So I can't use one of my new parallels because they're going to foul on the bolts. But I got a piece of 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch by 3 inch high-speed steel. I mean, it's ground. It's pretty accurate. It's good enough for what I'm doing at the moment. Right, okay, so my part will sit in there. Now, I could just clamp it up like this, but problem is I don't know that this raw stock is how square it is. So what I've done, I've marked, forgot to show you, just marked an X on this back face. In fact, there's a few lumps in there. Okay. We'll put 2 X's, that's a better face. So I put this back face with the 2 X's on against the back, but I don't know that this stock is square. I want to register off this back face, which I know is the vise is square. So what I'll do is simply put a piece of round stock in this side, and that will pretty much allow this part to sit tightly against the back jaw on this face. So when I machine this top face, I'll know that these two are at 90 degrees to each other. So that's basically the first step that we need to do. So I'll just find something to tighten my vise up. Okay, that's the vise, tight enough, and tap down on the parallel, and the parallel's tight underneath. I call it a parallel. It's a parallel piece of material, even though it's not strictly a parallel. Right, that part is now in there, ready to take the first cut. The size I'm looking for, let me get a rule. overall thickness is going to be 20 millimeters. That's the depth to the top of the cut. So I'm doing 2 in 1. So I'm just going to skim this space so I've got 2 square bases to start with. And then we'll start looking at the thickness. So one of these spaces, I'm going to leave it 25 mil wide, but one of these spaces is going to have to be reduced by 5 mil. Now, milling cutter, I've ordered a shell mill, which isn't here yet. Should be here, yeah, where are we, Sunday now. It should be with me maybe Wednesday, might be the end of the week. It's Banggood, so yeah, typically I find them to be about a week delivery. We'll see, we'll see. So, yeah, that's set up in there, ready to roll. The only cutter I've got that'll cover this whole face in one go is the fly cutter that I used to use in the lathe. So I'll dig that out now. I dug out the little fly cutter that I used to use in the lathe. I machined it on the lathe. Made it on the lathe, should I say. It'll do for what I want for this. I will have to just regrind the cutting edge. So it's the moment of truth time. The fly cutter's up. I put the guard in place, so I've got to have the guard shut because of the interlock. Quill's right up and the quill is locked. I've centralised the tool and the saddle is locked. Obviously my table is free to move. I'm going to put my cut on. I'm just going to touch off. There you go, that's a touch. I'll just come off the part. And I'm going to apply my cut using the by bringing the column down, and I'm going to put 0.5 millimeter. That's there. Lock the column. Well, it's been a long time coming. Let's give it a whirl. I'm running at 400 RPM. And I so need a power feed. You know what? The rigidity is incredible when you compare it to... I'm just being gentle with it, but when you compare it to the milling slide on the lathe, well, I'm just going to stop here and bring the camera around so you can see what's going on a bit better. So yeah, I got you looking down over the top of the guard. I'm going to remove this guard. I've made a decision. On the first cut, it's a pain in the butt. I'm just taking it gently till I get a feel for it. It's a piece of high-speed steel that I'm using. Yeah, power feed is going to be sooner than later. Just ran a second pass over the top at 1000 RPM with a 0.1 millimeter cut, and it's cleaned up absolutely beautifully. I don't know if you can see the finish on there, but it's yeah, it's excellent considering it's just a piece of hand ground high-speed steel. Okay, so back face with the 2 X's on. What I'm going to do now is put it down. I know these two faces are now at 90 degrees to each other, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this machine face that I just machined down, right, on the base, and I'm going to keep those 2 X's again where they were. No, I'm not. I've just confused myself. Hang on, where am I? Right, okay, that was like that, that was like that. Right, I know those two sides are square. So, if I put the X's side down on the parallel, yeah, so that's a machine face that's down on the parallel. Again, I've got the X face still against the back, and I'm going to do the same thing again down hard on the parallel, tighten up the vise. I'll just nip it to start with, tap the part down, so the face I just machined is now on the parallel, and the parallel is locked, and squeeze the vise shut. Okay, the face I just machined is down, so as it stands at the moment there's no cut on there, and I should be about level with that surface. Right, this guard is getting on my nerves, but what we'll do now, let me just see that it's in shot. Yeah, what we'll do now, I'll just bring this guard around. I'll just loosen off my locks. I'll put another 0.1 cut on. Lock the column again. Fire it up. 1000 RPM again. And I should be able to just cut straight across the top of this now. I think I put 1.1 on. So that's cleaned up nicely. Now that was my roughing pass. And undo my locks, which are a pain back there. There we go. Nice. Scratch across the surface. As sort of regularly as I can, trying to keep a constant speed with the hand wheel. And there we are. I've read in the manual that whenever I start the cutter up, I'm supposed to start at the slowest speed on the variable speed and then speed it up to where I want. Not sure if that's strictly necessary, but I think I'll get into the habit of doing it. And then, yeah, obviously I can't be doing anything wrong. Oh, I forgot to mention, before I rotated the part, I did deburr the face that I put down. So what I know now is that the top and bottom face and that back face are all square to each other. So I can probably do away with the dowel pin now, because these two faces are parallel and square to each other and to the back face. I'll put the back face down on my parallel and machine this top face. So side number 3. Need a bit more cut on there, I think. Hold on. Okay. There's the roughing pass. Back across. nice consistent feed if I can. Right, that's 3 sides done. So that's all 4 sides machined, all square and basically blocked up. We haven't come to the ends yet. Right, I want one dimension to be 20mm, which is the height of the top of the little step here. So to start with, I need to machine 4.1mm off here. Now, I don't know what the height is there, whether I can get it without putting a bigger parallel in. Let's just have a little measure. 18.75, so yes, I can. So put it back in, clamp it back down, parallels tight. So 4.1mm off there. I mean, it's not critical, but 4.1mm off there. What I'm going to do is touch off using the column, and then I'm going to use the quill coming down incrementally to get to the dimension I want. Obviously, I'll take like 3mm off, and then I'll have a measure again, and then take the final cuts. So, let me set that up. In fact, I'll probably take the first 2mm off using the column, I think. Maybe first 3mm off using the column. I'll leave the quill fully up. I don't want to sort of machine with a quill down any distance. Right, okay, so bring it down to touch. I'm getting braver with my speeds now. Well, at first cuts, you know, on 400 odd, I wanted to see how things went. So there's a touch. Right, okay. See if I can zero this dial up the top here. Okay. It's very strange, it seems to read backwards. That's a millimetre cut. I'm going to try it. Let's see. Yes, okay. Looking at the dial, I think it's 0.75mm. It's hard to, I'll get used to it, I'm sure. Power feed and rapid traverse. Remember to fit a rapid traverse on your power feed, eh? Loosen the quill, forgetting to do that. That should be 0.5mm cut, so we'll see. And same again, I think. I'll bring you back when we're somewhere near. So again, I got the guard in the way. Yeah, this should be the finishing cut. I got down to a sort of 0.06 from size. And I've just taken a 0.06 cut on the little quill DRO on the front. So we should be pretty close. As I say, it's not fussy. If it was 20.1 or, you know, 19.5, it wouldn't hurt. Okay. Let's see how we did. Oh, let me bring you around so you can see my measuring. Where are we? There somewhere. Okay. .0607. Just, I'm going to put that little cut on. Let me set a 0 on my DRO. Okay, it's going to be 19.99 when I cut this. You know it is, don't you? Alright then. So. Run that back across. We'll have another measure. Okay, so moment of truth. Well, it says 20 mil. Hey, happy days. So I think I'm at the point now where I want to cut this in half. I've just marked the line on the centre line. Yeah, let's just line that up with a T-slot. Good old Lufkin rule. I don't want to damage the rule, so I'll use the nylon side. Okay, happy days. So a little bit of a cheat. 1, 2, 3 blocks stood on end. I knew I'd find a use for these. I got a clamp for the top of it. I'll just push it against the side of the vise and back against it. It's actually hitting on the little clamp at the back. Just think I need to swivel round a bit more. Let's get over on the middle of the block more. Again, little piece of shim underneath. Piece of aluminium, that's better. Okay, hold it firm. What have I done with my spanner? I keep putting things away that I'm going to be using. I'll have to learn to keep my 17mm spanner to hand on the miller, because it gets used for all the clamp kits. Right, okay, so that's locked in place there and clamped to the bed, and obviously it's a square block, so this face of it will be square. So when I want to come and square these blocks up on the end, I can put them in the vise. Hold on, that way. Push it firm against the 1, 2, 3 block and lock the vise. Just get my little tool. So that will keep that part now square in the, basically square in the vise. Now I think I might have a little issue with, oh, we'll soon find out. Might have a little issue with that cutter fouling on the we'll see, fouling on the clamp, we'll see. But yeah, I'm only taking a mil and a half. I'm just squaring them up basically. So let's have a quick look. So that's the cutting point. And happy days, I'm not going to be machining my clamp. You'll notice, yeah, I tried with it, but the garter's gone. Yeah, good riddance. I'm going to rig something up on a magnet, you know, something that'll go here on a magnet, that can be taken away and put back. So if I'm hogging out lots of material, I don't want to be spraying swarf all over the workshop, or myself for that matter, but at least I've got some form of guarding, not to keep me out, to keep the swarf from me. So yeah, just squaring this one end of the block. I'll get the other block out and do the same to that. I got to come across shot, I'm afraid, to undo the lock. Would it be nice if the locks were on the same side as the winding handle? That just doesn't seem to make any sense to me, that the locks are on that side, and the winding handle to bring the head down is on this side. So yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, but we'll see, eh? Might do something about that at a later stage, I think. I don't think it needs much more. I think it's just about cleaned up. Yeah, there's a little bit on that corner. So yeah, the lock is over here. The adjustment is on the opposite side. You know what, this little fly cutter is sweet in this mill. Okay, so that's one end done. I'll do the same on the other block, and then we'll deburr them, flip them over, and well, probably I'll measure up, see which one's the shortest, clean that up, take a reading, and get the other one the same. Well, there we are, guys. I think we'll call it a day on this video. It's going to be quite a long one anyway, so I think this is a good place to stop now that I've blocked up the two blocks to make little clamps. So anyway, the next video, I've got plenty more video in the can. So the next video is going to be basically finishing off these little clamp blocks, and we'll put them to use. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you all very soon. Cheers now.